Hey guys, this is DJ Ashba.
And I'm James Michael, and we are 6 a.m.
DJ Ashba and James Michael, you have other rather big commitments. Like you, for example, play in Guns N' Roses, and you are, I would say, super producer. Would you say that 6 a.m. is your heart project?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, obviously, we put our heart into every single thing we do. What 6 a.m. is, it's the one thing that all three of us can do, where we are free to create in any form, any style that we want to. It's the one place where we can explore any territory musically that we want to.
It's a lot bigger freedom. I mean, I know that you put your heart in everything. We talked about that earlier as well, but it feels like yesterday you had a meet and greet. You had fans listening to the new album, Modern Vintage. Great response, even from journalists and the fans. And then afterwards you got to talk to them a little bit, and it seemed like you really touched people deeply. Like they came to you, people started to cry, and you helped them on a really deep level. How does that feel?
Yeah, I mean, it's been surprising to us how many people these songs have touched ever since, Life is Beautiful hit. We have been getting flooded with emails and people posting on our social sites and coming up to us at the 40 dates that we did play was overwhelming. We just got all these people, and we're like, whoa, wait a second, what did we had no idea a song could have that much power to touch that many people. It was just unbelievable. We knew the song meant a lot to us for certain reasons and things, but it's still this day when people come up, it's you gotta pinch yourself.
What's really neat about that is it's not just one song. It really seems to be the spirit of what 6 a.m. represents. We have people coming up to us all the time just saying how different songs on the record have affected them or somebody that they love. And for us being able to do the meet and greets and actually being able to not just be in a line and shake hands with fans as they come by, to actually personally interact with them, hear their stories, hear them share their life stories with us, it makes it more real for us as well, and I think it's just I don't know, in some respects I think that we actually benefit from that maybe more than the fans do. And part of what I think connects with people about our music is it's not just about us, In fact, it's seldom just about us. We love to find ways to take things that we have experienced and relate them to things that other people have experienced. And sometimes it feels like we end up being the voice for a lot of people, saying things that they have felt but maybe haven't known how to put into words. And when you can put it into words in kind of a poetic way that can be experienced in an art form, it really clicks. And I think that we've really benefited from having that type of relationship with our fans.
All these songs are written with us three sitting in a room with a couple guitars, and it's the recording the record that takes a bit just because of our schedules. So but the writing is always done fairly quickly, and the songs, once we stumble up on an idea or whatever and it sparks all of our interest, then you'd be surprised how fast we write together.
Well, you are pretty busy people. You, for example, work with a lot of big names when it comes to producing, like Alanis Morissette, Hailstorm, 6 a.m., Scorpions. What artist or band is left for you to work with?
Well, any artist or band that is interested in pushing themselves further than they ever have. I'm always excited about working with artists that are honest, that are really real, and have a fresh way to look at life and express themselves. So I don't really have a list of particular bands, but anyone that's ready to make that record, I'm ready to make it with them.
Oh, nice. Hope you hear that. And you, DJ, you have a lot of things.
I'll
like
screw the records up.
Well, you are a producer as well, a guitar player, a designer.
Yeah, I've produced some albums, but I personally, it's not my thing.
Okay, if this album, Modern Vintage, was a dish, we have talked a lot about food earlier. If it was a dish, what would it be?
I love that question.
If it was a dish.
You don't have to agree, but you can't fight.
For me, it would be a 48-ounce porterhouse steak. Filet mignon on one side, New York strip on the other.
American.
Absolutely.
American.
Get high on the music.
Stars is it's really a perfect 6 a.m. song. To me, it's a great way to open the record because it starts off with this incredible guitar tone that DJ's created, and it's this haunting, electrifying guitar tone, but it's also just a singular guitar, and then the vocal comes in, and yet even from that very beginning, you can just tell it's a stadium song. Everything about the performances was very stadium, which was important because the song itself, lyrically, is almost a ballad, and yet we wrote it as a very, very intense rock song. So, and in typical 6 a.m. fashion, it starts off with this kind of dark, brooding verse, but then explodes into this really, really soaring chorus, and it's just a fantastic song. It's a great way to open the record.
Gotta get the point. We should have done this in reverse.
Okay, right.
No, it's, the way Gotta Get It Right opens up with the big ELO harmonies and stuff. It fit, Stars, the way Stars ending and that open is just like somebody opened the window. It's like, whoa, and angels came flying down, it's one of those feelings. And it's a fun, feel-good song, and it just seemed to fit second perfectly.
It's actually our first single off of the record, and we chose that song because it was so unusual. And this record really takes you on a musical journey, and we wanted to lead out with a single that was going to let people know we're not just making the same old record over again. Relief is, it was one of the earlier songs that we wrote on the record, and it really set the stage for what we were doing because it was the first song that had this very kind of vintage rock feel to it. It's a very driving song, and it's to me personally, it's one of the more, I think, European sounding songs on the record. The way that the melody works against the track is, to me, it reminds me a little bit of Life is Beautiful in the sense that also had a very kind of what I felt was a European chorus to it, and the message of that song is so powerful. It's probably one of my favorite lyrics on the record because everyone can relate to just the stresses of the world, and everyone has something that they wish that they could kind of get past in life or conquer in life, and we all reach this point where we need relief from whatever it may be. And again, it's a very hopeful song. It's an understanding song. It was actually the idea for the lyric came from Nicky was out doing photography one day in a city, and he had gone to kind of a darker part of town, and he came across this woman, this young woman who was obviously a junkie, and was she was sitting up against a chain link fence, and rather than taking a picture of her and kind of looking at her as an object in his photography, he sat down next to her and was able to just have this incredibly empathetic conversation with her because, of course, he too knew what it was like to be addicted to heroin. And they had this really amazing conversation, and then she looked at him at one point and said, and he could tell she was just getting more and more troubled, more and more conflicted, and at one point she just looked at him and said, I have to do this now if that's okay, and you know, clearly she had to shoot up, and rather than, you know, judging her or anything, he just sat with her, kind of as a companion. He sat with her while she shot up, and then suddenly the relief washed over her, and you know, that's a very it's a very dark look at that lyric, but that really was where it came from. She was so troubled, and the only way that she knew to find relief was in this addiction that she had, and yet it translates into all of our lives in the sense that there is something in all of us at some point that we need relief from. And I think the message is just that if you stick it out and if you hang in there, relief will come.
This is a great, fun song to write. Yeah, we had, this was probably the funnest lyric writing session ever.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, we were just trying to really push ourselves lyrically on this song and just get super incredible creative with this. And this is one of your favorite.
It is one of my favorite songs on the record, not only from a production standpoint, but like DJ just said, from a lyrical standpoint, because we sat there and we wanted to be very abstract with this song, and we wanted to be very over the top, and so, you know, it starts off with this line, all the rats and the cats are dancing on the ballroom floor, and it just explodes from there into this tale of these almost surreal characters, and
it's very seedy.
Yeah, it is. It's very seedy. It's very dirty and kind of gritty, and then the vocal in the verses is very kind of Tom Waits, raspy and dark and creepy, and then it explodes into this almost flamboyant type of Queen type of high falsetto thing, and everything's over the top, and everything's too dramatic and very theatrical. And that's what I love about it. It just kind of, it goes on this crazy, crazy journey. It's almost cartoonish in a sense, you know, and yet there's a realness to it and a rawness to it that I just love.
I actually did two leads. I did one on an acoustic and one on the electric.
Yeah.
We blended the two.
Yeah, so when you listen to it, if you listen carefully, you can hear it's
it.
not a typical guitar tone, because it's actually an acoustic guitar and electric playing the same thing that makes this crazy, ambient, weird sound.
We just get stupid. Yeah. That's one of my favorites. Let's Go is just that huge, you know, to me, like, big arena rock party song, you know. It's like the riff in that was really fun with the harmonics and stuff, and the big gang vocals, and back in the States, ESPN, right?
Yeah,
just used it on all their college football shows and stuff. So it's just one of those anthem, big party rock song type things, you know. But yeah,
you know, and I think probably both Nicky and DJ experience this a lot more because they're always touring with Guns N' Roses and with Motley, so they're out there in front of audiences all the time, and
perfect song for that.
That's right. They bring back that knowledge of what it takes to get people off their feet in a live situation, and we knew that we wanted one of those on the record. So Let's Go is definitely that big stomper anthem. Drive is the first cover song that Sixx has ever done.
Yeah.
It was originally done by the Cars back in the 80s, massive hit for them, fantastic song, and we knew that we wanted to we knew we wanted to do a cover on this album, and we knew that we wanted something that was going to go along with this whole concept of modern vintage, drawing on our influences from the past, and you know, showing how it's kind of worked its way into our music of today. So Drive was a perfect example of that song, of a song for that. What we were really taken by when we started looking at it and considering it was just how the lyrics are very much like a Sixx song, in that the lyrics, when you look at them or listen to them, are incredibly painful. It's a really, really sad story. It's heartbreaking, and yet it's this very beautiful production, this very hopeful production, which is really the way Sixx has always approached songs. And it's one of my favorite guitar solos on the record, which is cool because the original didn't have a guitar solo. So why don't you talk about how you had to approach that, you know, in a very thoughtful way?
Yeah, I approached it pretty much how I approach every solo section with 6 a.m. It has to tell a story. It has to mean something. It, you know, basically that's my responsibility to, you know, James hands off the song to me, and I continue this journey that we're telling, and I bring it around, give somebody you know, take it to a peak of the journey and hand it back off to James, and it's one of those things that it's storytelling basically, and it had to. This was crucial though, because the original, like he said, doesn't have a solo, and it, you know, more so than ever, I wanted to make sure whatever I did fit this song and complemented this song, you know. So, you know, melody is king on something like this, and I couldn't wait, because the arrangement we were doing, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is just, you know, it's the perfect solo section just to, you know, make this thing cry, and so I was very inspired when we finally got in there.
Yeah, we're really proud of that version. I love the song "Give Me a Love" because it's another real rocker. You know, it's just an aggressive song.
I thought it was because me and Nikki got married.
It was your wedding song, wasn't it?
No,
that
no,
was
you.
No.
Because you were the only one not married. So you're like, guys, give me some love.
No, it's just a great rock song,
Yeah.
And I love the lyric in that chorus. Show me a life with blood and with beauty, which is so 6 a.m. You know, we're always trying to balance out the beauty in the darkness, and have it kind of do this dance where you're not quite sure if you should feel good or feel bad, but in the end you always feel a sense of hope. And the lyric on that song is really desperate. You know, it's really about somebody who is just kind of who is given up on the hope of love, and it's just passionately pleading for you know, to get some type of sign that there is a love out there for this person, and the urgency of the track and the desperation really comes through in that, and it's one of the heavier rock songs on the record.
I love this song. You know, this song, the whole concept. Everybody knows what it's like to, you know, basically. I'll make an example. See, the girl in your mind would be the girl of your dreams, and you're just like praying to God. She notices, like you would do anything, but you're panicking because if she doesn't look at you, don't make that connection, what happens if she doesn't feel the same way? So it's that kind of, you know, that whole feeling of you have to have this, you know, thing in your life, but what if that thing doesn't want you? And I'll let him go more into the lyrical, but the guitars, you know, we wanted to create a very desperate, herky-jerky, like uncomfortable, panicky frantic guitar parts and stuff, and make the music very much like that. And you know, so
yeah, and it really, this is another one of those cases where the sentiment of the lyric really fed into the music. You know, it's called Hyperventilate because it's when you have that moment where you want something so badly that you stop breathing and you start hyperventilating, and so we wanted the whole song to feel like you can't quite catch your breath, because that's what it feels like when you've come across that person. And so it's very panicky. And what I love about that song, I mean, I love the intensity of it. The tempo is so fast, but it ends with just hyperventilating. You hear me kind of breathing in and then breathing out and then breathing in again, and I wanted to, it was very intentional to end on the intake of oxygen, and it just ends and it goes dead silent with a so everyone is kind of, there's this moment and you're just holding your breath, and I think that listeners will actually find themselves holding their breath with me as this next song comes in, and just waiting for that next moment of something to happen. So really neat song. High on the Music is a cool song. It's one of the weirder songs on the record, in the sense that it's it almost feels more of like an alternative track than a straightforward rock track.
And we originally wrote 2 choruses for it, which we ended up just going, you know what, they're both really good. Let's just put them both on at the same time, and it actually worked. And it's really cool. So I dig that about the song.
I do too. We did that on a couple of songs. We did it on Gotta Get It Right as well. If you listen carefully to Gotta Get It Right, there are two choruses going on. And on this one, we originally had the chorus, it was going, we all get high on the music. And then we came up with, and that was a cool chorus. It was very kind of trippy sounding, and it was like gang vocals doing it. And then we came up with the idea of putting another vocal on top of that going, get high on the music, and rather than making a choice between the two of them, we just had to figure out a way to get them both to kind of speak to one another, and but yet stay out of each other's way, because they're both happening at the same time. And then another thing I love about that is the guitar parts on that. The guitar parts are so unusual and so hooky, and they just kind of swirl around the track, and I think that's one of those songs on the record that I think every time you listen to it, you could listen to that 20 times. It's like watching a movie that you watch over and over and over, and every time you start picking up little things about it that you didn't notice the time before.
A lot of pinch harmonics.
Yeah, and at the end of that, for me, it's I sing higher than I think I've ever sung on a record. There's this improv part at the end that just starts on a note and that goes up, and I remember singing that and going, I think I can do one more. I can like go up another note, and I think this next one it's gonna blow it, but it just kept on going. So I really love it from that respect too.
Love this song. Very kind of funk, kind of has a little flair of disco, and very Bee Gees type of influence to it. Miracle's cool, man. When I look back on it, it's very, to me, what I loved about old Michael Jackson songs, and that whole feel of very danceable song, and I loved it because I don't normally get a write or record funk type playing, style. So for me, it was a blast.
Me too. Yeah, I love it because DJ's guitar part is so perfectly funk. And then Nicky really rose to the challenge on that one. He does this cool kind of soulful bass line on it. The whole thing just has this kind of 70s soul, like you said, Bee Gees disco thing, and so it was a lot of fun to interpret vocally as well. And I think it's a real standout on the record.
Before It's Over is probably my favorite song, just because I grew up loving Elvis. My mom got me into Elvis, was the first bit of rock and roll, but it wasn't just Elvis. If you could look past Elvis, which was hard to do, you'll find out that he has one of the most incredible bands on the planet. But I quickly became a Scotty Moore freak and fan of his playing that very rockabilly style. So when we were kind of stumbling on this idea of this, I got more and more excited. I'm like, wow, and I started digging out Elvis records and started really going back and, relearning the Scotty Moore style and Chet Atkins and Les Paul. And I really wanted to make this song authentic on guitar and not overplay and not underplay, and just come up with the perfect guitar part for this song. And so I pulled from those, and then once we kind of got the solo and the parts where they went, we kind of went a step further. I think you or Sixx came in there like, wow, this is great. What if we added a harmony, like a Brian May thing on top of? So imagine like Scotty Moore with Brian May playing together type of thing. It would not make sense, but somehow it works and it fits, and it was just really interesting how that song came together.
Yeah, I love it. It has a very kind of vaudeville ragtime type of feel, almost a Tin Pan Alley type of feel. And what's special about that song to me as well is the fact that it's another one of those songs where lyrically, if you look at it, the lyric is really, really sad. It's probably the saddest song on the record lyrically, because it's about somebody who has lost somebody and they just haven't been able to let go. I think a lot of us know somebody like that who, typically when you lose somebody that you love, you go through a grieving period, and then you find a way to kind of piece things back together and move on and find a way to celebrate their life as opposed to mourn for the rest of your life. But the person in this song just is not capable of getting past that grieving period, and it's been many years. And so it's a very, very lonely song, a very, very lonely lyric, and this guy knows that and he's almost apologizing for the fact that he can't move on, but he knows he can't. And so what we did is we set this very sad lyric to this ragtime type of very happy feeling, almost joyous, celebrating type of feel. And the reason that we did that is because sometimes when you're experiencing extreme loneliness, you feel it even in the midst of being surrounded by people that care about you. And sometimes the more people there are around you, the lonelier you get, you get more withdrawn. And what I loved about the fact is here's this guy who he's in this setting with this music, that makes it feels like you should be feeling great. It feels like you should be happy. And he can't figure out why, with all of this happiness surrounding him, he still cannot let go of this, and he's still sad. And it's just it's a beautiful contrast, and it's a wonderful way to end the record.
So the album comes out October 7th in the States, I believe the 6th here, and something that everybody should know, they can go to iTunes or Amazon and pre-order this album. And we put out 2 editions, the standard edition, which has the original 11 songs on it, and then there's a deluxe edition with 4 extra songs. One is a song called Let It Haunt You, in parentheses, so beautiful, but it's killer. It was almost going to end up on the original album, but we saved it as a bonus. The other 3, we took 3 of some of our favorites off the original album and completely stripped them down to poems again and rewrote brand new songs around them to give the listener a completely different,
different experience.
Yeah, different experience on it. So,
which is really neat. And I think that what people can expect when they get Modern Vintage is a record that is going to it's going to reveal a lot about what Sixx AM has become as a band. It really is a record that celebrates our influences, what made us love music in the first place. And I think that in addition to that, it's going to reveal things to the listener about themselves and about what role music has played in their lives over the years. So we're very excited to share it with people, and I think it's going to be a musical journey that everyone's going to enjoy in their own personal way.
Freaking out in my head, just